school events, everything. Scott, even when he was in the 8th grade and he won the track championships at school, at Catalina, I was holding his ribbons. He went over to the coach and said, "My dad is holding my ribbon. Tell him to put it down."
Is that right?
What do you think about that? Wouldn't you be proud of having your father acknowledge that you won something and to hold your blue ribbon?
Yeah.
So that's why I think Scott, one of the reasons Scott is a, what phraseology? A mom?
Mr. Mom?
A Mr. Mom. I think that's one of the reasons why he's a Mr. Mom. Because I imprinted him that way. And Bill is very similar.
How so?
Bill will agree with me, say he will help me on certain projects, come to the desert, go to Home Depot to get supplies with me. And then we were coming out of Home Depot and I'm pushing the cart with all the supplies on it. All of a sudden he'll just walk away. And I will struggle by myself to get it loaded. He will go just so far and then he'll walk away. It's not normal.
What kind of relationship would you like to have with your sons then? With me and with your
Bill?
other sons?
Bill and I have a pretty normal relationship, but that's happened many times at the store.
What about Scott? What's your relationship like with Scott? Does he?
When he's in town. Bill came over to the house last month with Benjamin, and he looked on the refrigerator and saw Scott's picture at the wedding. He says, "Do you know how big Shaz is now? He's over 6 feet 2 inches tall. He's taller than me."
How old is he?
Shaz? How old is Shaz? I don't know. When was he born?
I have no idea.
79?
He wasn't born in 79, was he?
I don't know how old he is.
I was born in 76. Put your hand down.
Right. But anyway, he's up there now. He's over 17 at least.
Really?
Yes. Yes, Shaz.
I guess.
As time goes by, just like in Casablanca, as time goes by, time flies, Michael.
That's right.
So anyway, when he's in, and Bill says, "Well, didn't you see them when they were in town a couple months ago?" I says, "No, I didn't even know that they were in town visiting." And Bill pretended like I knew, and they never told me. But when I see Scott face to face, he's very cordial to me. Talks to me. I says, "What are you doing, Scott?" "I'm taking care of my kids. I'm babysitting." He accepts it. But, gee.
Does that disappoint you?
No. What disappoints me is, what if Kelly gets tired of that after she's ready to retire from the military? She gets on her pension, she wants her own life. What's going to happen? Are they going to stay together? After the kids are grown, off to college or married, are they going to stay together? Who is he going to be Mr. Mom to? What's he going to do? Open a nursery? He's a good worker. He worked for the telephone company. He was a crane operator. And they all liked him, trusted him. Overhead crane operator in the factory where they made telephone cables. Great big ones. And they had cranes. He had a good job. And then Kim went to work at the county hospital and met a Mexican intern doctor. And they had an affair. And she moved in with the doctor. And the doctor had a secret. He was stealing from the hospital. He had 2 other Mexicans working for him. They were stealing equipment from the hospital, and he would sell it on the black market to raise money to send himself through medical school, internship. And they caught him, and I don't know whether he spent any time in jail, but anyway, that broke up their relationship, and so Scott and Kelly, so Kelly took Scott back, or Scott took Kelly back, I don't know which. But that's when Scott started staying home with the kids and never worked again. So maybe Scott psychologically is blackmailing Kelly. You ran away from us, and he was actually morally no good. He was a thief. And so I'm taking you back so you work for me the rest of your life. What do people think inside psychologically about events? Do people ever forgive one another?
What do you think?
I think I don't know.
Who have you had to forgive?
Who
do you need to forgive?
Janet for burning Bill in the face.
Have you forgiven her? Excuse me.
I haven't forgiven her, but I'm beginning to understand that she was abused. Her whole family was abusive. Neither Dr. Jordan or Mrs. Jordan loved one another. Mrs. Jordan had hundreds of affairs in Phoenix. Went to psychiatrists to try to get over it. Was active in politics. And Dr. Jordan was a secret alcoholic. He'd go to the office and drink. To his doctor's office on Saturday and Sunday and drink. He was a nice, kind person. Really. I took Janet out once, Michael. I took Janet out once. Once! And nailed her. She got pregnant. So we were going to ASU at the time, and I saw her about 5 months later in the library. And we talked for a long time. Just like you and I right now. We had a nice conversation. I talked to her for about 2 hours. Oh, she was so nice, and everything I said, she thought it was so wonderful. But I never asked her out again. And so about a couple months after that, she walked up to me in front of the business building, waiting for the classes to start at 8 o'clock in the morning. And she walks up to me and says, "I want to talk to you." And as soon as she pointed her finger at me, I knew what it was all about. I took her out that night. "I'm pregnant." I said, "Why didn't you tell me before?" "I was afraid you'd make me have an abortion." I didn't even know what the hell an abortion was then. I didn't even know the word. But she always worked in her father's doctor's office. He was an OB doctor. She knew all about that. She is Before I even married her, she was laying a guilt trip on me. Michael, a man is not a man until he's married at least once and has the opportunity to have his mind turned to mush by one woman.
What does that mean? Hold on. That thing is like way in the way.
What is it? Oh, is that right? Where are we going?
Nowhere.
Are you going to have a close-up now? Are
We're
we
already
going to
close
get
up.
a close-up? You got to elevate it a little bit, son.
No, it's good right there. I like the framing.
You do. But anyway, that's right. Being married, so I married her. So her
But it was
father
five-
told me, just marry Janet and give the child a name. Oh, okay. He gave me some money, maybe $80, and I got some money from my parents, and I drove her up to Las Vegas in my Impala, my green Impala Chevrolet, a 1958 green and Chevy Impala. And Mrs. Jordan gave me some pills. She says, these pills will keep you awake, Bill. Don't take more than 2. She says these are the little pills that pilots take when they are on long flights in combat to keep them very active and alert. I took about 4 going up to Vegas. So we got married in the little white chapel. And so we went back to the motel. I laid on the bed and I went, I was out all night. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and Janet was sitting in front of the window looking out. So we drove back the next day and I pulled up in front of her house. She says, what are we doing here? I says, that's what your father said, just to marry you, to give the child a name. I says, I'm bringing you back home now. She went in the house. So anyway, the more she got pregnant and everything, the bigger she got. I started visiting her. See, my parents were getting a divorce at that time. My dad started drinking, started filing bankruptcy on his business. His business was failing. Judy was acting weird. I didn't know that she was schizophrenic at that time, full blown.
How is she schizophrenic?
How is Judy schizophrenic?
What symptoms does she demonstrate of schizophrenia? Because you're schizophrenic.
You think?
Yeah.
I thought I was paranoid.
You're paranoid schizophrenic.
I'm paranoid and schizophrenic.
It's paranoid schizophrenia.
And I'm also very stupid.
I don't think you're stupid.
I am the dumbest person in the whole world.
Why do
I
you
used
say
to
that?
work.
Why do you say that about yourself?
I used to work with a guy named Keith Ward out at Palo Verde Nuclear Power Plant. He says, Bill, you're dumb like a fox.
Why do you say that about yourself?
To see how people react. To see if you say
Because you're very-
wait a minute. If you say you're dumb and you're conversing with me, how does that affect you? Do you take that upon yourself too? You're talking to a dumb person so you don't want to deal with it anymore? Or do you have really patience and empathy and understanding? Every creature on this earth has something to contribute. So you really, when you don't belittle yourself, but when you tell the absolute truth about yourself, those people listening to you are absorbing it and trying to read it into how they really react and feel about themselves. And if they reject it and they don't like to hear you say, I'm a dumb person, they can't handle it themselves and they'll walk away. They have no depth.
But you're very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
You
I've read
like
a
to
lot.
read.
Yeah.
And,
But anyway,
and inform yourself about history and politics and physics and all sorts of things. So you're not dumb.
I went to college for 10 years trying to get through, Michael.
So
10
what?
years. I started in mechanical engineering. When I went to high school, I knew I was going to have a struggle. You know why we come out to Arizona? For my asthma. I only went to school from the first, second, and third grade, maybe 6 months, because of my asthma. The last year in St. Louis, I was 8 years old. I had asthma and double pneumonia, and the doctor said I wouldn't make it another year if they stayed in St. Louis. So that's when we come out to Arizona. When we got to New Mexico, I stopped wheezing, never had asthma again. So it was ragweed there, the high moisture content, coal dust in the air. You had to bring your clothes in within an hour or they turn brown because of all the coal be burned there. And there was 3 rivers running through there, right at the confluence of St. Louis. The Merrimack, the Missouri, and the Mississippi. Very damp. So it was all those factors. And my mom blamed my asthma every Friday night on my dad because he wouldn't come home. So Sunday night, if my dad decided to come home Monday morning, he would send flowers.
Where would he be?
Drunk somewhere. Or out in the county with the Germans drinking their bathtub gin. But my dad was a manic depressant. He was very smart, but he drank because he felt bad. Whether it was my dad even said he wished he had been taller. My dad was only about 5'4", 5'5". Oh yeah. Granddad was short. My dad was short. My mom. Why do you think short men marry tall women? So their offspring will be tall. Every generation will secretly breeds to have healthier, smarter children. What do you think a Jewish woman says to a man? Well, hello, you're nice looking. What do you do? What's your occupation? I'm a nuclear physicist. I'm a neurosurgeon. Who chooses their mate? Do men choose their mates or do women choose their men? Who makes the first choice?
What do you think?
Women. Guys come back. Guys come back to the fraternity, the apartment house, the dormitory. God, I made that baby tonight. I made her. Oh, was that nice? You don't make any woman. A woman makes you. A woman chooses whether to mate. How long does it take you to go into a room and decide to be attracted to somebody? How long does it take a male to decide that? How long does it decide a female to go into a room and to look across the room to see if she's attracted to somebody? You know how long it takes a woman to decide? 5 seconds. You know how long it takes a man to decide? 7 seconds. Within a couple of years, those 2 seconds have spread apart about 2 weeks. When you've been married about 5 years, it spreads about 5 years. Women think way ahead of men. And it's progressive. The older they get, the smarter they get. How come women hear better?
I don't really understand what you're saying.
Women,
Like
women
3
biologically are superior.
Hold on. When I'm asking you, I want clarification.
I'm telling
What do
you,
you mean?
women are superior to men. Why does the lion make all the kills in the jungle? The male lion doesn't kill. But after the females kill their prey, the lion comes over and eats. And the females sit around and watch him. Why is that? Most of the females in the lower animal kingdom do the killing.
Lions really aren't lower animal kingdom.
What are they?
Pretty high up. I mean, I think of lower animal kingdom as, I don't know, single-celled organisms.
How about the scorpion?
Black widow.
Black widow. What happens after they mate?
I know.
She eats him. She eats the guy. It's biological. So what else do you want to know? So did I really nail Janet? You know, I was going through such emotional problems. My parents were getting a divorce and felt like a shitheel. I was failing out of college. Everything. And so I felt like a shitheel, and I went back and we got a divorce, and then I remarried her in the in Central Methodist Church. We had a church wedding there. And then I rented an apartment up there around Northern and 12th Street. And Mrs. Jordan kept coming over every night. And she finally told Janet she found an apartment on Palm Lane and 20th Street, closer to her house. She came over every night then and brought donuts, sat right on the edge of the bed and talked about Dr. Jordan, how mixed up he was. Every night. Every night. She drove me nuts.
What about my mom choosing?
What about it?
I
I met your mother in the riverbed.
In the riverbed?
Yes.
What do you
Over in
mean
Scottsdale in the riverbed at JD's.
Is that just an area? The
Yeah,
riverbed?
JD's.
It's not like in the river or something?
It is in the riverbed.
In the which JD's?
It was a dance hall.
Oh.
It was like... Anyway...
Was it a bar or a dance?
Yes,
Or was it a...
everything.
Or was it a club where they actually served drinks?
It was a club. Nightclub.
Oh. Was my mom drinking then?
No. She never drank.
Okay.
If she did... No, I don't think she ever drank. I don't.
Why was she there?
Oh, well, she drank with Gordon one time, she said, and she got so sick she threw up all over his Thunderbird on the outside of the door. She never drank again. She couldn't hold liquor.
Yeah.
I mean, as a matter of fact, it was stupid anyway. Neither of her parents drank.
Yeah.
Her parents didn't drink. And my mom hated drinking. So I met her over there, and I danced with her. I got there, it was after hours. I worked in a machine shop, and this guy took me over there. And so we met these two women, and I danced with her. And I kept going back to her table and asking her to dance. And then finally, I followed her out to her car and got her phone number, and then called her the next day, and I said, "Would you like to go to a drive-in theater?" So I took her out. And so we had so much fun. I got a divorce from Janet in 61. I met your mother in 65. When you get a divorce, a woman should stay single at least a year. For a man, you should stay single for at least 3 years or more.
Why is that?
Because it takes a man longer to adjust to single life and divorce than a woman. A woman, I'm telling you, women are more biologically superior to men. Women have to adjust faster to changing times because they have to produce offspring. So therefore, they psychologically they adjust much faster than men. Men's egos are destroyed when they fail in something. And so you need support systems. And then I went to a psychiatrist for a year and a half, and I asked Jenna, please go to a doctor with me. She says, I know I need one, but I'm never going.
Hold on a second.
What?